evening and welcome to Scotland Rural College campus presentation and student panel question and answer session. So firstly, I'd like to thank you all for joining us this evening, and I hope you find our event informative and that you leave with many of your questions about studying at Craibstone answered by our panel this evening. So firstly, some introductions. I'm Bridget Edmonston and I'm the Student Recruitment and Marketing Officer for the campus. In a few seconds, I'm going to introduce you to my colleague Audrey Channing, and she's the Academic Liaison Manager and Campus Administration Manager. Who or what Audrey doesn't know about the campus isn't worth knowing. She's our Craibstone guru. Audrey's going to run through a presentation which is going to give you an overview of studying on campus, as well as other important areas such as funding and student support. Following on from Audrey's presentation, I'm going to introduce you to a couple of our student ambassadors. That's Lucy and Catriona, and also Katie, who has just recently graduated with a degree in RBM. The girls are going to tell you about the reality of being a student at Craibstone and from living on campus, living in Aberdeen, and the general student experience. So feel free to ask us any questions. You'll see a small question mark at the top of your screen. You can click on this and type in your questions. We're not going to answer your questions during the event, but we'll answer them at the very end. So one more thing before we get started. The event is being recorded and the recording will be emailed to you at the end of the event. So if we're going too quickly, you think you've missed something, we'll email that to you, and you can watch the presentation again at your leisure. So with no further ado, I'm going to pass you on to Audrey. So welcome, Audrey.
Thanks, Bridget. Can you share my presentation, please?
As
Bridget said, my name is Audrey Channing and I'm the Academic Liaison Manager here at Craibstone campus in Aberdeen. So, what I'd like to briefly touch on is the learning opportunities we have here at SRUC, a little bit about applications, funding and fees, faculty and student support, a little bit of information about the library. I'd like to go over the accommodation facilities we have on campus, student support, and then SRUC, so the Student Association. SRUC's mission is to create and mobilise knowledge and talent. We partner locally and globally to benefit Scotland's natural economy. We have a wide range of learning opportunities here at SRUC Craibstone, a number of courses from agriculture, rural business management, animal care, equine, which is new to us and starting next academic session, veterinary nursing, wildlife and conservation management, sustainability and environmental management. And all these courses, excuse me, are at various and progressive levels. So you could come online with this and you could start at a foundation level, certificate level, and you could do it in, say, animal care, start on an intro course, and then move through to the NC. You could then move from the NC, the national certificate, which is a level 5, onto the higher national certificate or diploma. You could also go down the veterinary care assistant programme, which will then take you on to an undergraduate degree, the BSc. And then if you're really keen and really enjoying your time with this, you could carry on with your studies onto an MSc or a PhD in a number of those subject areas that I just showed you. Our courses are a mixture of training and vocational. So our animal care, we have practical classes within an animal care unit. As with the agriculture, we have practical classes up at our training farm. We deliver blended and flexible learning, even more so this year. With COVID shutting us down in March, we had to rapidly redevelop all our materials so that they were suitable for blended learning. And then we have professional development opportunities. So for those who may graduate from SRUC and who wish to come back and do some CPD, we have CPD events throughout the year. How do our courses help you grow as a person? Well, within all of our courses, with us being an agricultural college, they're all practical. So you will be working in teams. And there you'll learn transferable skills. You'll learn through means of case studies, projects and presentations. You'll be out on the farm, in the animal care unit, walking through forest. You'll be learning practical skills. And during this, we continually assess you. So that may be small bite-sized assessments. For some of you, it may be graded units over the course of the year. That's usually HNC and HND. And then we've got our exam diet as well. For some of you, you may end up out on placement, so you gain some work experience. But I think what I think is the best are the field trips. Unfortunately, they're few and far between this year. Because we can't take groups of students out in the minibuses, but normally, and hopefully by next year, things will be back to normal-ish. Then we go out on field trips, and it can be up and down the coast, it can be up the mountains, it can be in the woods, over to the west coast, all over the place. Fantastic fun. Funding. Once you've accepted a place on the course, you get sent an email with links to all the different funding options that are available. We have bursaries, and those are awarded depending on your age, your household income and personal circumstances. Those of you who are currently in school and are still under 18 by the time you start with this, there are EMAs available. There are also travel expenses for anybody who lives more than 2 miles from college. For tuition fees, if you're a first-time Scottish student, then you can get an award from SAS, the Student Awards Agency for Scotland. If you study before and receive funding for tuition, you may end up having to pay some of it yourself, but it's always worth having a look at it. For other non-Scottish students, you will have to pay tuition fees, I'm afraid, but you can apply for support through your own funding council. We have other forms of financial support because sometimes we all find it a little bit hard to make ends meet. So for those of you with children, we've got a childcare fund. We've also got a discretionary fund. So if you're really finding things tight, you can make an application for, and it's again based on your own individual circumstances. And then we have annually, we've got centenary bursaries. Within the faculty office, they're the main hub, apart from your teaching teams. And there we can help you with student support, be that study, pastoral, careers or funding. We don't expect you to trail around with your PPE all day. And believe me, when you're doing the animal care course or the agriculture course, you may end up with a lot of PPE, welly boots, overalls, you name it. So we've got lockers on site that you can book out. We develop your timetables for you, and we can help you with information about funding and fees. Student ID cards, you need one of those, otherwise you're not going to get your freebies and your discounts in town. So we issue the student ID cards for you as well. Within student support, as I said, we've got careers, we've got funding, we've got education, we've got pastoral. So we can help you with reading, writing, scribing, additional time for exams and assessments. We have therapet sessions, which is brilliant. We bring in the therapettes 2 to 3 times a year when we can, and everybody loves just going and having a sit down and hug with the dogs. We can help you if you have ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, autism, mental health, anxiety, anything that's worrying you. We can help put support placements in place for you. Sorry. We can help you with funding, discretion at EMA. We can help direct you towards other external sources of funding if we don't have anything in the internal pot which can help you. If your student has little experience of the care system, we can put additional support in place for you as well, so we can put in reasonable adjustments. Our library is open to the public, but its hours are 8:45 to 12, and just now we're taking an hour break at lunchtime to clean for COVID purposes, and then it's open again between 1 and 5. Because things are unusual this year, we are using a click and collect system, so students can go online and they can order up the texts that they would like and they can reserve them. Then they pop in at a suitable time to collect. We've also got click and sit, so we still have our study spaces, although we've got fewer of them because they're socially distanced. And students can book a place to come into the library for IT access, or they may just want the Wi-Fi access or printing access and they can come in. And then we all forget a password sometimes, don't we? You know, every 90 days change a password. The library can help you with changing your password as well. Accommodation and facilities. Well, we've got 3 halls of residence. We have Sutton, Hunter and Mackay. Sutton has 60 ensuite rooms. Hunter has 20 standard rooms, and that's the oldest halls that we have. And then we have Mackay, and that's for the under 18s, and that's above the canteen. This year, we're only using Sutton Hall because it's the biggest and we can space everybody out. So nobody's in one room next to the other. The study bedrooms, as you can see from the image there, we've got desks, bed, wardrobe facilities in there. We've got self-catering kitchens. Kitchens are quite large, so normally quite a few of you may be hanging out in there at any one time. And there are laundry facilities in all the accommodation blocks. We have the canteen, and then we have the licensed bar, which is in Hunter, and we have a 5-a-side football pitch, and we have a small gym on site as well. There is daily transport to and from Aberdeen city centre. It comes in from the city in the morning, drops off at the campus and then returns, and then it comes back and picks everybody up at night and returns back to the city. For anybody who may be staying in the halls, as long as there's space on the bus, if you want to go into town in the evening, you can just jump on the bus. Health and safety we take really, really seriously. So we have a quiet room. So if you're having just one of those moments, you just need peace and quiet, you can escape to the quiet room. We have our first aid room. We have counsellor, we have a dedicated counsellor, and we also have pastoral guidance on site. We have a team of safeguarders, so there are a number of safeguarders who are the wardens who work within the halls of residence. And then we have a team based at Ferguson Building, male and female staff who are there to look out for you. And just now, as you can imagine, we've got a lot of COVID-19 precautions in place. We've got the signposting, the 2-metre social distancing, the hand sanitisers, the one-way system. We've got a lot of posters in place. We're trying to do track and trace. We're trying to keep everybody as safe as we possibly can. As I said, we are committed to safeguarding. We're committed to providing students, a safe place to study. SRUC, so we have a campus officer. There's actually 3 campus officers, vice presidents. They're sharing the role this year, which is new. We have student ambassadors. Some of you you're going to meet very soon. We have student liaison groups. So what I ask for is for members of each class to nominate 1 or 2 members to come to meetings with me 3 times a year. And at those meetings, you tell me what's going well, what's not going well, and it can be to do with the academic studies, it could be to do with the halls, it could be to do with canteen. We had an instance last year where people wanted to tell me that they wanted more meat on the menu. And then we have made sure that we also had the vegan menu as well. So it can be about anything that you want to tell me about. From those meetings, we have a couple of student liaison committee meetings per year as well. And that's where we meet with the board and the dean and other senior managers. And we put forward all your concerns, all your thoughts, all your views. And we want to hear this. We want to hear how we can do better. So we follow this up with evaluation forms at the end of each course. And we also take part in the National Student Survey and other surveys throughout the year. Student life. Well, student life isn't what I would like it to have been this year. As you can see in the images here, we've got Freshers Week, and last year we did a mini Olympics, and we chucked them all in a tatty sack and asked them to hop, so a bit of a sack race with a difference. We also like to take part in charity events, and this one here on the right hand side, that was Pudsey. So everybody came in their onesies and ran around the building, fleecing all the lecturers of their money. In the halls, we like to have movie nights and pub quizzes, in the bar. Unfortunately, not been able to do any of that this year. Hopefully next year we'll be back on track. We have an annual SRUC ball where everybody gets dolled up and they choose the venue, the Student Association, they choose the venue and help organise it. And then the end of the year, absolutely most fantastic ceremony. We invite all the graduates down to Glasgow for the ceremony. So why would you want to come to SRUC Craibstone? Well, I think we are a small and friendly campus. We've got great community spirit. We're close to, you know, the city centre. So if you want to go into the city for the high life, for the clubs, for the bars, for the bowling, for the cinema, it's right there on your doorstep. We really do have flexible learning options, more so this year than ever. We've got excellent teaching facility. We've got skills labs, animal care unit. We've got the working farm. And we can help you find progression to employment. There's a list here of useful contacts, but as Bridget said, this recording will be sent out to you, so don't worry if you're trying to scribble it all down at the moment. You'll find us easily, and just even if you call in on the main line saying, I have a question, we'll find the right person for you. I really look forward to welcoming you in the future to SRUC Craibstone. Thank you. Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you, Audrey. So I hope that answered a lot of your questions. It has thrown up a few questions here, and what I'll do is I'll keep them, and then after our chat with our students and our alumni, we'll go back to those at the end. So first of all, I just want to say that we have got 6 ambassadors in Aberdeen, student ambassadors. They have just come on board in the last 2 weeks, so this is all very new for everybody. We should have had 3 ambassadors here tonight, but due to the joys of technology, we seem to not have been able to connect with one of the girls, Freya. But I'm delighted to say that we have got 2 of our ambassadors here, that's Catriona and Lucy. And we've also got Katie, who, as I said earlier, is an ex-student, and she loved us so much, she's come back to work for us. So I'm going to just introduce you quickly to Katie, Lucy and Catriona, and then we'll have a little bit of a chat just about student experience and what it's like coming to Craibstone. So first of all, I'm going to introduce Catriona. So if you'd just like to say hi, Catriona, and what course you're on and which year you're in.
Hi everyone. I'm in first year rural business management. It's fun.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Catriona. And now I'm going to introduce Lucy. So Lucy, if you'd just like to introduce yourself and your course and which year you're in.
Hello, I'm Lucy and I'm doing animal care and sea level.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lucy. And finally to Katie.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you very much, Katie. So now we're just going to have a little chat. We've got some questions that we're going to ask the girls, and they're just going to talk through their kind of feelings and their thoughts. So first of all, I'm going to ask Catriona. Catriona, what's it been like moving to Aberdeen? It's obviously a big thing for you. We've had a few chats over the last few weeks, and you've come from Newcastle. Coming up to Aberdeen is a big move for you, but up to the frozen north up here. Can you just tell us what it's been like so far, and have you done much exploring? What's it like being in Aberdeen?
Yeah, it was a pretty big move. Moving it was quite overwhelming. It was a really, really big step in my life, to be truthful. Definitely wasn't normal any means because of the current climate, because of coronavirus and all of that. Staff here though did make it a lot easier, so I'm very grateful. So far I've enjoyed it. I've been to beaches, I've been on a lot of hikes, a lot of walks, because it's the main thing that I can do here. It's been very refreshing, different places, different locations, very refreshing. I've been to the city a few times. It's a lot smaller than Newcastle city centre, so it's a lot easier to navigate. I went shopping, so it wasn't that interesting, but it was great, I loved it. There is a bus that normally takes us into town, which obviously isn't happening anymore, but I'm hoping it's going to be resurrected when there's some form of normality at some point. But the campus is half rural, half towards the city, so it's really not that far from anything, which is so helpful. Thanks, Bridget.
That's great. Thank you, Catriona. And another quick question for Catriona here. So again, it's not been the usual experience for you living in halls. Obviously, we're a very, very reduced capacity at the moment. But can you just give me a bit of an idea of what it's been like for you over the last few weeks living in halls?
Absolutely, yeah. Halls are right on campus. It's like 2 minutes away from the Ferguson building where the classrooms are. I am the only rural business management student on campus at the minute. There's 8 of us all together, and I'm the only RBM student. Most of us, we've become great friends, which is so helpful, because I thought I was going to be a loner, but I'm glad I'm not. COVID has affected halls slightly though. There is between 1 or 2 rooms between all of us, so we aren't all like slammed into one corridor. We're spread across 2, so that's great. We have our own bathroom. We share a kitchen, but it's cleaned every day. Yeah, because the halls are right on campus, it's so easier. So yeah.
That's great, Catriona. Thank you very much. So I've now got a question for Lucy. And my question is, Lucy, can you think back to the mists of time before COVID, before any of this affected our lives so much? And when you started at Craibstone, because I know that this is not your first year here, you started in a previous year. Can you remember what your experience was like as a new student?
Yeah, Bridget, as a new student, I was quite nervous because I hadn't been in education for a while. I stopped a couple of years so I could work. But my friend was in SRUC at the time and I was quite interested in it, so I decided to have a look into it. And when I started college, I was surprised at how close everyone got, obviously before COVID. It was nice having a group of friends to experience college with. And I hope that gets back to normality soon because it is a really big part of college. The teachers were all really nice as well and they were really helpful. Yeah, it'll be really great when things get back to normal and everyone could just share their experiences properly. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucy. I think Audrey touched upon it as well. The fact that we're quite a small campus certainly makes people, very close, and also with the teaching staff as well. The teaching staff have got very much an open door policy, and it very much is a very friendly campus. So I'm going to move on to something different now. I'm going to speak to Katie now. We did have a couple of questions for Freya, but unfortunately, because she's not here, we'll have to leave those for now. But Katie, so at Craibstone, we don't just have school leavers. We've also got several courses that are very popular with, dare I say it, mature students and career changers. So as I say, courses like Wildlife and Conservation Management, or the course that you studied, RBM. You've just graduated as a mature student, so congratulations for that. And I believe it was a 2-1 that you got, so that's amazing. You're a working mum, you were studying full time as well, and you've juggled your way through a ton of commitments. Can you tell us about that experience, Katie?
Yeah, so thanks. I graduated with a 2-1 back in July. It seems quite a long time ago now, but I signed up for the HNC in RBM in 2016, and I called the week before it was due to start and got the program leader, who said, "Oh, just come along to the first day next week and we'll take it from there." So I think I kind of used that approach for the 4 years. Obviously, I stayed longer than the 1 year of the HNC, kept coming back. But I did sort of break it down into terms rather than thinking I've got, a whole other year to do. It was more like, okay, term 1's 10 weeks or, term 2's 10 weeks. And it really sort of flew past, you were into like week 5 or week 6 before you knew it, and you'd managed another term. And like you say, I've got kids and I had work at the time as well. So it was a lot of juggling, but looking back now, it worked fine. And the small worrying that I had at the start, actually, everything worked out fine.
That's fantastic, Katie. I think that sounds like a really good strategy that you had there to break it down like that. I think that's something we could probably all take on board when we're studying.
Yeah.
I've got another question here for Katie as well. We've a few of the students already and Audrey have touched upon how supportive the staff are. Obviously, you had an even more difficult situation with juggling everything. So can you tell me a little bit about the staff and what they did to help to ensure your success?
Yep. So right from the start, I think because I did have slight worries about, maybe not being on time for every class, or, having the kids, I maybe had to leave a bit early to be back in time for them. So because I sort of approached the staff and said, look, there might be times I'm not here on time, or that I have to leave early or whatever, then they were really supportive of that. And because I sort of maybe was proactive about it and explained my situation, then yeah, they were all really great. And not just the RBM ones, but obviously with the elective modules that included sort of agricultural lecturers as well. And that was sort of pre-COVID, so some of the modules weren't designed really for online learning at that time, but they still helped me through things that I'd missed. And I guess now it would be even easier to do what I've done, because everything has had to go online, and they sort of probably can cater for that easier now than they did when I was doing it.
That's great, Katie. Thank you very much for that. So I've got another question for Catriona. Catriona, my question is, so you're new to the campus and the area and to the accents and everything else in between. What's the experience been like so far?
My experience has been a positive yet learning experience. This just because of the blended learning. There's a mix of assignments, online learning, reports, etc. But I personally find this quite easy to manage with. But of course, if you don't, there's obviously staff that can help you with no issues at all. They'll be straight there. I've been lucky enough to make friends in halls. Even though the majority of the time they just mock my accent, like the difference between mum and mam, and the dinner and tea debate's an ongoing thing. But it's all just fun and games, really, and it's honestly, I love it. It's such an experience. The staff here have been nothing less than supportive. I cannot fault them in one slightest bit. They check on us every night to make sure we're okay, because due to the current climate, most of us can't get out, we can't do as much as we'd like to, and it does dull you down a little bit, but I'm glad that they're here to make sure we're all okay.
That's great, Catriona, thank you very much. We had a question for Freya here, and it was to do with the clubs and societies, if she had taken part in any of them, but obviously she's not here to answer that. But just to let you know that we have a vast number of clubs and societies that students can take part in, and most of them are student-led. So we've got sports teams, we've got rural skills, we've got engineering club, and we've got the Aberdeen Agric Society, we've got crafting clubs. So there's things to suit everybody. And if you as an individual have got a particular interest in something, then you can, look at getting some support for that and actually starting up your own club on campus. So that's something that hopefully in the future, when we get back to some kind of normality, then these clubs and societies will start to resurrect themselves. So I've got a question again for Lucy, and it's to do with our student ambassadors. So you've just started as a student ambassador, working with the marketing department, Lucy, along with Catriona and another 4 students. Is this something that everybody can get involved with?
Yeah, so all students can apply. The marketing department starts recruitment in September, so people that want to apply can send in an application. They'll have an interview with the team and explain why they would like to be a student ambassador. I think it's a great experience if you want to give it a go. It looks great on a CV, and you get paid for anything you do as an ambassador, so it's good to earn a little bit of money as well. It's been a good experience for me just now as well, and it's helped a lot with my confidence, and it's just a good thing to give a go. Thank you.
That's great, Lucy. Thank you very much. I think it's great because I think what everybody wants to actually see is the student experience, as opposed to, you know, what the marketing department are talking about. So it's great to actually have our students sharing their experiences on social media and online. So so hopefully we're going to have a good year together. Lucy, what things do you have to actually, are you going to have to do other than obviously you're working on these events?
Yeah, so as an ambassador, you'd help with events like these. And before COVID, we would do these face-to-face. And I think that was part of the fun of it, but we have to do it online to be safe just now. And hopefully we can do face-to-face meetings once everything settles down and it's safe to do so. We also help the marketing department with promoting the student experience on social media. So Facebook and Twitter, we can do blogs and videos, we take photographs, just anything to share the student experience and show how fun college can be.
That's great, Lucy. Thank you very much. I'm now going to just pass a question around to everybody. So to Catriona, to Lucy and to Katie. Just to get a little overview, because Katie and Catriona, you're both doing RBM, or Katie, you did do RBM, Catriona, you've just started. So two different ends of the journey. And Lucy, you're doing animal care. So it's just to get a little bit of an idea about your course. So Catriona, if you could just share a few highlights of your course.
Yeah, absolutely. I do Rural Business Management, RBM for short. It's a mixed learning, so reports, assignments, online learning, little bits of quizzes and stuff like that. We would have had trips, and I'm quite sad that we don't have trips because I'd really like to go on a trip. But a highlight of the course is definitely learning new things that I don't think I would have learned without RBM. I would have just carried on my usual life and not realised anything about it. So it's really cool.
That's great. And to Lucy, what do you want to share about your course so far?
Okay, so I'm studying animal care NC level. This is my second year. Normally, last year we had a mix of theory and practical, so we'd do some theory classes and then head over to the animal care unit and hang out with the animals and look after them. This year we've been all online. We're not sure how practical, I don't know how practical is going, but it will be under strict restrictions with the COVID. We'll all be in PPE and masks and socially distanced, so it'll be really strange. But I would say a highlight of my time would be to work with some of the animals like in the unit, because I've never really worked with them in person before, and they all have their own personalities and they're just really funny to work with. They're also different. They really brighten up your day.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lucy. And Katie, what were the highlights for you when you were studying on campus? Obviously, it can't have been that bad because you've come back to work with us as well. So do you want to share a few highlights of being at Craibstone for 4 years?
Yeah, I think the highlights were probably visits. So like Audrey said, they are, you know, the area that you visit can be hugely varied. So we were up at distilleries in Speyside, and then farms down in Tayside. So, you know, because it was rural business management, some of them were agricultural visits. So we got to see farms and things as well, but also got to visit sort of touristy places and, you know, like the New Chapelton village near Portlethen, and we went there just to see sort of right from, you know, the sort of start of that project, and, you know, a couple of years later seeing how that was going. So it was really varied, the visits, and it was just sort of like Catriona said, it's just things that you learn that you wouldn't have known otherwise, that actually you realise you quite enjoy learning about. And yeah, highlights were, now looking back, probably graduating with a 2-1's quite a highlight. But yeah, the visits were my favourite part of it, and just getting to see other things that you wouldn't normally have seen otherwise.
Catriona, I hope you get the experiences that Katie had in the last 4 years. It sounds like you said you want to go on some trips. She said she loved her trips. So hopefully you'll have those experiences that she had. So we've got some questions here from the audience. So I'm just going to direct them at Audrey. So Audrey, if you're just ready to answer some of the questions we have here. So the first question I have is from Marty, and Marty's asking, it's relating to part of your presentation on funding. What does EMA stand for?
Hi Marty, it stands for Educational Maintenance Allowance. And it's something that I think students can get. I can't remember from what age. Katie might be able to help me out in here. But if you're under 18, you can apply for it, and I think it's dependent on household income as well. It's kind of
school leavers, isn't it? Up to 18, I think.
Yeah, it's an incentive to keep people in education.
Okay, thank you very much. And the next question, Audrey, is again, it's relating to funding, and it is when is it the best time to apply for SAS? This is a first-time student in Scotland.
No, the applications usually close for courses at mid-January, so it's as soon as that door opens. And the college will keep you informed, you know, as to when the course is live and when you can apply and everything. So basically, as soon as you've applied, keep your eye on the window, on the SAS window, and as soon as it opens, start applying. They ask for a lot of information, a lot of paperwork, but again, we've got Katie on board now to help you out. So if you need help with applying for any kind of funding, Katie here is your lady.
That's great, thanks Audrey. So the next question is from Chloe, and the question is, are all the same things available for all the campuses?
Oh my.
That's a big question.
It's a very big question. We've got 6 teaching campuses at the moment. I say at the moment because we've got an Inverness campus as well, which is expanding. So yes, we have similar facilities. I'm staring off into the distance thinking, trying to visualise. Yes, most campuses have halls, apart from Edinburgh. They don't have private accommodation. We all have something along the same lines. We've all got some kind of refectory. We've all got some kind of sporting facilities. We all support the clubs and societies. And thinking about clubs and societies, the Agries, they've got their sports society, and there's an annual kind of competition where they tootle up and down the country, and Aberdeen will host Edinburgh and Edinburgh will host Aberdeen, and they play football and rugby and all sorts, and usually just kind of degenerates into drinking games, to be quite honest. But yes, sorry. Yes, we do have similar. Elmwood and Oakridge have equine there. We're hoping to get equine, up and running, and hopefully we'll have a good cohort there this year. Some of the courses differ, but on the whole, yes, the same.
Okay, super, Audrey. Thank you very much. That was one thing that I forgot to say, was that we normally have a very active equine society as well, a riding club as well at one of the local stables, so that's another very popular course as well. And the last question, I think we've pretty much answered, but if there's anything else that you want to add, Audrey, is there accommodation for people who don't stay in Aberdeen, as this audience member said they'd have to move to Aberdeen as it's too far to travel every day? Yeah,
we do have the 3 halls, and traditionally what would happen is the student would move in at the beginning of the year and they would stay there all year, and then they'd beetle off at the end of the academic year. But this year we've done it differently. It's more or less B&B. You know, you tell us when you want to be here and we book you in. And that's because this year what we've done is we've decided to do the practical sessions on a rotational basis. So Lucy mentioned about the practicals, doesn't know how it's going to happen this year. What's happening with the practicals in the animal care unit is students are coming in for either a 4 or 5 week block, and they're doing all the practicals within that time. So for those students who are from far afield, they're booking in for 4 weeks and then that's it, they're zigging off home. So we've got people from islands, from Orkney, etc. And they're coming in and, you know, they're booking in for what they need and they disappeared. They're disappearing again. So I think you're the exception to the rule. You've decided to come up from Englandshire to just stay with us and hang out with us full time, haven't you? But yes, and I think next year, I don't know if it's going to be too far removed from it is this year. All depends on COVID. If we're in the same kind of situation, it'll be, you know, pay as you go, you know, pay as you need. But the option is there for if things calm down for people to stay for longer duration, if they want to stay with us, you know, for the entire time.
So I'd just like to thank you all for coming along today. We hope that between the questions that the students and Katie answered earlier, and then the questions that other prospective students have asked have answered everything. If there's anything that you feel you didn't want to ask publicly, or something you've forgotten after we actually go offline, then you can email me. So use the email that I sent the link on to you over the last few days, and email me back and I will send the question out to the relevant member of staff for an answer. So thank you again. One little last thing, I just want to draw your attention to the link that I've put into the question answer dialogue box. If you don't mind, if you would just like to send some feedback on today's event, then we can use that to make any improvements for the future. So thank you all again for attending. Thank you to Katie, to Lucy, Catriona and Audrey, and thank you from myself, and good night.